Good afternoon, everyone, and good morning or good evening for those who are actually listening from different time zones. My name is Marilyn. I'm the CEO and founder of Customized Training Solutions Private Limited. CTS provides solutions to leaders and organizations to help them transform and thrive through continuous learning and relevant intervention by connecting them with the right world class resource to co create customized programs. And we have served companies such as Petronas, Sony, Shell, PruLife UK, Ayala Group, Tencent, Jollibee Foods, just to name a few. What makes us different? Reason why our clients choose us is that we are customer centric. Our passion, unreserved attention, and responsiveness is apparent, and at the same time, our experts have a well combination of practical and training experience, which ensures outcome and impact for them. And today, I'll be having the pleasure to be able to interview Javed Malik. Javed is the Group COO of AirAsia. And just a short introduction for him. He's a senior executive who has led and delivered large scale operations in AirAsia's airline structure, including ground handling and airport management. As a group COO, Javed Malik is accountable for providing AirAsia's group wide directions on operational performance and standards, bringing technology and innovation that will drive guest engagement on the ground or in the air, delivering strong financial contribution along the way through collaboration across operations division, which is made up of engineering, flight operations, cabin crew, ground services across 158 airports, supply chain safety, security, and network operations management command center. And without so much further ado, I'll be bringing in Javed. Hi,
Hi,
Javed. Good
Marin. How are
afternoon.
you? Very good. Very good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for asking, and thank you so much first of all for I know you're a very busy person with all those responsibilities you have for as a group COO of AirAsia, and here you are. You gave time for us to be able to share your insight with regards to leadership and transformation. So I wanted to start now right away.
Sure, sure.
And yes, so the first questions I would have for you is basically for for our listeners and attendees to be able to understand better, like where are you coming from, what's your perspective, right? So please do share with us your leadership experience and influencers, probably your leadership style as well, why you are leading that way.
Right. Understood. Well, firstly, Marilyn, thank you for having me on your event, and obviously to all your listeners and your viewers. I hope they find this valuable and obviously look at some of the products and services that you can offer to really bring development, learning, and training to the forefront. So good luck with this event as well for you.
Thank
In terms of
you.
myself, I've been in aviation now since 1998, and prior to that, for about 12 years, I worked in retail in fast-moving consumable goods.
Mhm.
Tesco, most of you in Asia, if you're Asia viewers or Europe, will know of Tesco stores, superstores. And
Mhm.
I joined them as a management trainee, worked my way up to becoming a store manager, and ran a
Wow.
store that was nearly 40 million pounds, about 60 million US dollars of turnover a year, as my last store before I left Superstores. But I joined aviation because I'm a family of aviators, and my father's 42 years in aviation, my brothers, cousins, everybody's in flying.
Wow. Okay.
Finally, we say in aviation, the jet fuel, A1 jet fuel, got into my nostrils, and it got into me. So I've been in aviation since '98. I studied and worked with British Airways in many roles around Heathrow, and then moved overseas and managed Asia Pacific for British Airways from an operations customer service perspective. Did that for 12 years. Um, Worked up through various grades and roles in a corporate company until I moved to one of my most favorite companies, and where I really learned a lot. And to touch on one of my first influencers, Bangkok Flight Services, part of the WFS Group, Worldwide Flight Services. I was a director in the ramp operations, managing Bangkok Savannah Boom Airport operations for BFS. And I met to me, was one of the greatest leaders in our industry, extremely knowledgeable person in the business, but also a wonderful human being and a great person who I try to emulate a lot in terms of how I manage people and work with teams. And that was Stuart Sinclair. Stuart is the CEO of WFS, one of the most knowledgeable industry people, both commercially, tactically, strategically, is very strong, but also as a leader of people, a great leader figure. In fact, the Thais call him their father, and he's very much fathered the team with care and compassion. And I think the important virtues that I took from him, or try to adopt in terms of how I work with my teams and lead my team, but also have a depth of knowledge that you are seen as an expert that can guide and counsel and mentor with substance, not just academic value on its own. So I did that in Thailand for 4 years, almost 4 years. And then I moved to Qatar Airways, running Qatar's global network operation as vice president of operations for them. Started first as head of operations in airside, moved the airport, which was a $3 billion airport, where I, with my team of experts in aviation operations, launched what was a military exercise. We actually recruited army officers from the British Army who were great in logistics and supply chain, and they helped manage this operation of moving an airport from about 10 kilometers apart. In 4 hours, we moved several hundred aircraft and 50,000 customers. That was a great success. I ran that for nearly 4 years. And then I moved to what I used to describe as the dark side of aviation. It was the airports, because I was an airline person. And airports were always a mystery to us. And they were landlords that charged us a lot of money, and we couldn't understand what they did. So I said, you know what, it's easy complaining about the other side. Let's go and understand and learn and work in that area. And so I did. I joined Bangalore Airport, fortunate that they took me into their role as head of operations, senior vice president of operations to start with. I left them as their chief operating officer. And I learned about airports, and Bangalore was the world's, and it still is, the world's fastest growing airport globally, with nearly 36 million passengers a year. It was a big airport, really loved it, exposed to India. India is a tough place to work, but it's actually a fantastic place for aviation, and will be one of the leaders, if not the biggest market, certainly the second biggest market in the world. Lots happening in India, lots of excitement, lots of quality improvement. And one of the greatest assets in India are the people. The passion of the Indian people to develop and become number one is immense. And I loved it. I love the hunger to work, the hunger to get better, the hunger to excel. You'll see junior staff trying to go for MBA programs and going for degree programs or second degrees, because they really believe in self-development. And that's one of the big virtues of Indians as nationals, who constantly excel themselves to get better and better and better. And they want to be seen as the best. So I enjoyed India. From a people point of view, led some great teams, learned a lot about airports and governments and complexities of regulations. And then in 2019, after 4 years in India, I was asked to join AirAsia, who were looking for a hands-on operational group CEO to bring together what was then 6 airlines across 7 countries, 158 airports, 295 aircraft, and about 27,000 all staff. Of course, that was just before COVID-19, and then COVID-19 hit and the world has changed. We now fly to about 20 airports, have only about 15 to 20 aircraft flying at the moment of our 295. But of course, that's in a restricted environment, and we will be back strong as soon as the borders open. So, but it's been about coming to a very creative team, a team that is looking for consistency, standardization, looking to be agile in the way that they get developed, and they need to be very agile in the way we move now. We're going from being an airline to what we call a super app-based digital travel business. And that needs different skill sets.
Great. Thank you so much. That's really an amazing journey for you to be able to, lead and handle that much responsibility, I would say. But what I actually get so much from you is that, from my question on where your inspiration is coming from, is that, you got inspired from or became an aviator, choose to be an aviator as well, because your family it has also that you came from a family of aviators, and
Right.
also you mentioned, I hope I got this right, Stuart Sinclair, who
Right.
really gave you a lot of inspiration in terms of leadership. And among all the things that you say, what really it doesn't surprise me, but I mean, this is important for great leaders, I would say, like, being able to be passionate, always working to be, better, and always being hungry to excel. And at the same time, having that heart, I would say, the care and compassion to be able to lead the people as a leader, right? And so, having said that, what is actually your, what is leadership for you?
So leadership for me is really about clarity, setting a path. I used to say in Qatar, it's interesting, having been in many different countries and cultures, the work ethic and the work politics are very different as well. And so you have to be adaptable as a leader to adjust to the different styles that are required. There is no one style. There is no your style, to be honest. I don't agree or believe that my style is the right style. My style has to adapt to what is required in the country, in the culture, in the politics of a company. And if I can't adjust and get my team to change in those changes required, then I'm not helping them as a leader. That's what I see as a leader. An example in Qatar, for example, I used to describe Qatar in my role as one of, if anybody remembers, if they're a little bit old as me, certainly, or older, Lady Diana, who was a great royal figure, a beautiful lady, and just a role model to us all. Lady Diana walked in a landmine once wearing a protective hat and a bodysuit, and was walking through landmines to support the removal of landmines in Africa. And I looked at my role in Qatar almost like a landmine sweeper, where my job was to go in front and move out the mines for my team so that they could come in and do their job. And the mines were political, were leadership based, ego based, department based, silos. You can call them how you want. My job was to navigate those relationships as a leader and clear the path for my team so they could safely come and do their job, what they do well, which is their specialities, and go home every day, right? So I often describe that in Qatar in that sense. In where I am in Asia, here in AirAsia, I have to be constantly looking at technology and innovation and creativity and sharing those ideas and those companies like yourself and concepts of different things that we could try, and showing them to my team first and saying, hey, take the chance, take a risk, let's give this a go, and encouraging them to take chances. So I have a different role here.
Thank you so much for that. And I've been hearing a lot from you how important relationship are, and at the same time how continuous learning is important as well in leading a team. And I would say you're one of a servant leader and transformation leader. You've mentioned that there's no such thing as just one. You have to be able to adapt. You have to be able to be flexible, right? And
Right.
I said that you are a servant leader because you've mentioned like you have to remove the landmines for your team before, so that you can actually move forward. And so, having said that, how would you actually define and describe the next normal? You've mentioned earlier, like how, aviation has changed. Obviously, aviation is one of the industries that was, highly impacted by the COVID-19.
Right.
And so, yeah, how would you define and how would you describe the next normal for the aviation, knowing that you are very also innovative and forward thinking?
So firstly, I wouldn't describe or use the word normal. I don't think there is such a thing anymore. I think what we're going to be creating is a new experience that people, whether they be guests, as we call them in AirAsia, passengers, travelers, public, are going to have to, are going to want, and whatever it is that they want, we're going to have to adapt. And so if that new experience is one full of masks, one full of gloves, one full of sanitizing liquid, or one full of certificates of authenticity of vaccines or vaccination, then that's what becomes the new experience, right? But I also think we have to not look to go back to what it was, because what it was also was not right. It was not healthy. It was not inclusive. It was not collaborative. You look at what we've done to the earth and look at what we've done to businesses who have not been able to sustain themselves through this, right? In what was the previous norm. So I think this wake-up call that the world is giving us in look at the environmentally positive impact that no flying or no cars or no movement has had. Look at the forest, look at the animals, look at the rivers. We have an opportunity to improve in many areas. And so we shouldn't look for that norm. We should look for a new way. For me, that's in a couple of areas. Firstly, it's in religion, in belief, and strengthening that. It's in teamwork and collaboration, in doing partnerships more than we ever would have done. We were on a journey to insource everything, and now we're sort of saying, hold on, we can't take on everything. We don't have that breadth and depth and cost base. Can we look to offset this cost somewhere else? And so new collaborations. I coined a phrase that I use in a few events recently, which is cash is king. We've all heard of that, right? Cash is required, and it's a big thing to sustain us. But I also believe collaboration is the queen then. And so cash is king and collaboration is queen. I find it to be a very appropriate, apt description of where we must be.
Thank you so much. And I would believe, I mean, the upcoming event is a great example of how collaboration is queen, with all the thought leaders and business leaders coming together to share their insights, their ideas. And again, I really appreciate that you mentioned that, COVID-19 really, gave us a wake-up call on, considering the environment and how we do things. We have to make it right. And yes, an opportunity for us to, create new ways, like you've mentioned earlier. And so what will it take to navigate this crisis now that, our traditional metrics and assumptions have been rendered irrelevant?
So just before I moved on to that, just to add to the previous point, Marilyn, I think one of the other things that happen, and this really affects your business, and I think people like yourself trying to aspire in providing a different way of doing things, is that the regulators, the government particularly, have seen that they can't continue with the way they used to, the old norm. And so they're looking at doing business in new, different ways, right? So where regulations, for example, in training, were insisting on coming to classrooms and going to certified trainers by the regulators only, which limited classroom sizes, added cost and complexity, but also slowed down things. They've now gone to sort of online digital classes, right? Whether it be Zoom or any sort of platform that you use. But they've enabled that to happen very quickly, where previously, if you even had that discussion, it would have been years of negotiation or reviews and presentations, even for them to consider. Now, we're doing all these trainings and been able to engage and learn remotely more than ever before. And so I think that's a great opportunity of change to a new world that must not go back to the norm, right? And that's why I mean it's a new world, not norm. Sorry, to the second part, what's going to be, where's the future? How do we see us get through this? I think what we're creating is a set of new products and services to offer more than our core businesses if we want to survive as companies. And that can be in any company. So if you are a manufacturer, do you now go into retail? If you're a retailer, do you go into putting in ancillary products? If you're an airline, do you start selling peripheral and much more greater ancillary services than just your core aircraft seats? Do you offer different experiences for people? I note a few airlines were doing sort of flying tours around the airport and serving meals on board for dining experiences, so they couldn't fly outside of their country. But I think that's the innovation that's needed, right? We need to be creative, but we don't need brand new things that are going to change it. I think we've got everything on our doorstep in our toolbox of skills, products, services to reinvent and create the right products. Certainly digital is going to be a big player in this. Fintech is going to be a massive player going forward as we go contactless. We don't want to use paper cash payments. So fintech and the way people engage in finance is going to be big. For us, it's going to be digital, and e-commerce for sure is another big player.
Thank you so much for that input, and spot on that. You've mentioned all the thriving companies now which are on fintech, digital transformation, automation, and all those creative and innovative ways of creating products, including with AirAsia, where you also have building on the e-commerce side, right?
Right. Yeah, and we call it our super app, and AirAsia.com is the platform for that. But yeah, I mean, we believe that is a key market differentiation. It's going to be for us the future.
Right. Thank you for sharing that innovative ways of reaching out and continuing to serve your customers, right? So what are having said that people has to transition to what's the new normal or next normal is, what are the important leadership capabilities or skills you must have in this next normal to be, of course, be able to lead effectively, and of course for business owners or business leaders to be able to thrive in their business, to have that continuity and resilience?
Right. Yeah, I think one of the most important things now is change management. If we can't change what we do and how we do it and how quickly we do it, pivoting within that change fast is going to be really important. Now that's a skill. Not everybody can change, right? And change for human beings is probably one of the hardest things. So I believe change management and the skill of change management and equipping leaders and staff and personnel to the attributes and skills of change management is going to be really important for people like yourself, organizations that can help us prepare our people. Transformation linked to that is clear. A good understanding, working understanding of digital. There's a lot being said about AI and machine learning and visual intelligence and data analytics, and most people, or quantum computing, and they don't understand it. They hear all these wonderful big words and say, right, we've got to be digital transformation. Well, what does it mean? And I think so translating complexity to simplicity is going to be really important, right? That's what we've got to do, is break it down so that people can understand what it means for them to go and deliver. And that's something that I do in terms of my working style. Being fortunate to work in many countries, but also in different industries within aviation, so ground handling, airline, and airports. And what that's allowed me, and within that different roles, what it's allowed me to do is see the problem or the challenge or the opportunity from three different positions. I challenge myself and my team that if I can't give, for every new product or service or solution or process improvement, at least three benefits, tangible benefits that can support each three of those businesses, we're not going to do the product. So if I can't, so what do I mean by that is when I'm talking to the airport, I can give them three benefits relevant to their specific business model. Ground handler, three benefits to the ground handler, and three benefits to the airline. And when I do that with examples to my team, practical examples, having done the jobs, they understand what they then need to deliver and make happen. And that for me is transformation. That's how we deliver technology, by making it meaningful and simple.
Yes, and I agree with you with that on how, because sometimes I think this is the challenge for having that clarity, to those who needs to actually execute. um, and making it, like, like you mentioned, from complexity to simplicity, so making it simple for them, having them understand in terms of clarity what are the tangible benefits in terms
Right.
of the business model or the role that you're actually playing in your organization, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
so thank you so much for that insight, Javed. And so, what do you believe is the role of leadership and transformation in being able to thrive in this next normal?
Oh, I think being aware and having a plan, right? It's our job to give direction and vision through having a structured plan. I don't think that we need to be structured. We need to have some direction. We may not know the landscape ahead. And, we all wish the crystal ball was with us that worked. The reality is we're more fluid in the future than we've ever been before as a world. And so we're all in that same position. Nobody knows. Nobody can guess in anything. And so that, for me, that's a common place. So in doing so, what do we then want to achieve in the world of unknown? What do we make known? Call out some of the known items that you want to achieve, and don't worry about the unknown, right? And focus on the known that you want your team to work on. Provide them then the direction, the tools, the right resources, but at the same time, never forget, for us, what we're equipping them is, don't get too comfortable with what you have and where you are and what you do today. You need to change again and again and again and again. Um, it's like I philosophically, I say in discussions with people that we've now become a global communism, globe of communism, in that sense that we no longer have the basic rights as we took for granted, that we could leave our suburbs, our areas, our districts, our towns, or go to the city because we have these various controls in place at different levels in different countries. The reality is that's, in one to a better word, it's what some communist countries go through every day. And they're very successful in living, they're very successful in entrepreneurialism. They still deliver performance globally, some of the best. But when we in countries that thought we had these liberties had those taken away, like we can't fly anywhere, we don't know how to deal with it. And yet the countries that have always lived in it, they just get on with it. And so for me, it's about not worrying about what you can't control and focus on what you want to achieve. They might be smaller timeframes of achieving things. They may be improvements to make on things that you never took on before. But whatever it is, focus on what you can deliver.
Oh, amazing, amazing. I'm actually typing that out so that everyone should get what you said last, that not to worry on those things that you can't control, but instead being able to focus on what you can deliver.
Right.
That's amazing. So I'm actually enjoying this interview a lot. I'm learning a lot of ideas, insights from you, and this is really something that I would, look forward to, like what you'll be sharing in our upcoming summit. So, uh, this is gonna be the last question, and I would say a Miss Universe question for you. And so, if you were to ask yourself a question that you can best answer, what would it be? And please tell us more about it. Why?
Well, it's a great question, and it's actually quite easy for me in that it is, have I made a difference, right? Or what difference have I made? I mean, you can answer it in ask it in many different ways. That's what I ask myself now more and more as my hair gets whiter and I get a bit older. I'm trying to see, have I made a difference in my industry, or what difference can I make? And these events, big and small, are really important to me in that context of sharing the knowledge and the experience that has been blessed to me by both God and the people that I've worked with over the last 25, 30 years. I truly believe that people have got to give back in careers, not worry about their own careers only, and get to a point. And I'm blessed to be where I am, in the position I am, through my hard work, through a lot of support of my family, and a lot of great leaders and mentors for me. And if I don't take those lessons and give them back, then I really haven't given back enough to this industry. So yeah, the question will be, have I done enough, and what have I done for my industry, and how do I pay back?
Thank you so much. That's a great question that everyone should ask. I mean, at the end of the day, we live here for a purpose, and asking that question will be significant for us, making a difference and making this world a better place to live in. So thank you so much for that. Is there anything more that you'd like to share with us before we end this amazing interview with you?
Yeah, just one thing. I think it's very easy to get trapped into, you're a company, I'm a company, we want this value. And yes, we all want value and great prices and extra, but there is more to collaboration and relationship building to deliver excellence in our industry than securing a contract and getting a great price. And I do encourage people to build networks, build your ecosystem of great friends, great mentors, great people that you can coach, who might go forward and make a difference that you may not have done. But it can't be on the basis of, did you get a contract for them, or did you give them a contract? Because those are very fickle, short-term approaches, and companies are vicious in terms of buying services, and more so now. They will only care about the price. But those companies that care about their partners and relationships and foster that are the companies that are going to be the greatest success long term. But it's about getting a balance of good collaboration, good relationships, and partnerships that can add value.
Thank you so much for that last share that you had. And it really validates what we do, both you and me as a company, like you've mentioned, to be able to continue to add value and to really have that opportunity to be able to serve others, and to be able to, like you said, coach or contribute in any ways that we can, with or without the investments. So I think that's the Transforming and Thriving Together Summit is actually a best example of how, we are able to collaborate, and how I had leverage to my network, to have leaders as amazing as you are to join us in this summit. And we look forward to be able to encourage, empower, and to be able to inspire more leaders to do more, to make a difference, and to work together, to collaborate through this summit. So I look forward to seeing you again in our schedule.
Thank you.
You're gonna be joining our panel on the day 3 on communications.
Right.
Yes. Right. Thank you so much, Javed.
Thank you very much. Good luck, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the event.
Thank you. And they can see the link. It's been like scrolling around us, scrolling down here. So it's your chance to be able to avail of the early bird in the last few more days. It's gonna be until only January 31 for you to avail the early bird, and actually that includes a free ticket to the summit, which is a 5-day event on the 22nd to the 26th of February. So thank you so much, and hope to see you all there. Thank you, Javed. Appreciate all the insights. Thank you.